Eddie Bayard, how are you doing?
Trying to maintain, brother. Trying to maintain.
I hear that. It's MLK Day today.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep, a
That's,
great one, man. Great one.
that's right. It's a big day.
Yeah, well needed in this time period, man. You know.
Definitely. Have you? I'm sure. Are you a fan of the Boondocks?
You know I am, bro.
So, you know the episode when MLK. It's like, what would it have been like if he was still around? You know.
Oh yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah. I revisited that sermon that he gave. There's a lot of truth there, man. There's a lot of truth there.
Yeah, man. It's a powerful time we living in, bro.
Yeah.
It's man, like last year at this time, would you have thought all of this stuff was going to happen?
I don't think. I think if you hired the best screenwriters in Hollywood, 10 of them, but they couldn't have come up with this. And even if they did, they would have been like, we need to reduce that by about 80% because it won't be believable.
Right. Hey, man, somebody's going to make a movie about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what that's going to be like, man.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been quite tumultuous.
Yeah.
Tumultuous.
Yeah.
And it's been unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. Just
yeah. This has been a wild year. We lost so many cats.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And you lose folks. That's part of the sort of cycle of life. But I think what makes this sort of what's bad about this is that it's like people are dying and you don't get to really adequately pay respects.
Or talk, or
and
it's weird.
It just is wrong.
Yeah,
it's just wrong.
Yeah, and we don't see people no more. I mean, it's hard to connect with people. I guess this is the new way of connecting. So it's cool.
Well, I've said in other episodes of this series that it's good that we have this technology.
Yeah,
I'm not hating on the technology, but it ain't the same.
No, for sure.
It ain't the same.
Sure.
And especially as a musician, you have a certain. It's like the space you're in.
Yeah.
There's a vibe that it communicates, the way that the sound bounces off the walls.
Resonates in the body. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I know. Hey, man, by the way, I saw the video with you on baritone with that group of cats. I don't know. Y'all did it was like a big band. The one guy from Chicago was singing. You was playing baritone. It was lit. It was nice, man. I really dug it. I saw it on Facebook a couple weeks back.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I'll have to think about what that was.
It was an ensemble.
Right.
I can't remember the guy. Kind of looks like Malcolm X was singing vocals. He's from Chicago, great vocalist. I can't remember his name right now, but it was nice, man. Well put together, and guy sounded great ensemble, man. I think the first time we met, like in person, man, was like over at the Mexican restaurant. Remember that?
Okay, let's see here.
You remember the Mexican restaurant from OSU?
Oh, right. La Bambas.
You remember that?
Oh
Yeah, man.
yeah. You know, it's funny. The one of the funny things about La Bambas is
Is it
that
still
was
open?
one of the things. Nah,
Oh, okay.
nah. They finally brought in another sort of Mexican joint though,
Okay.
Qdoba,
Okay.
which I like Qdoba, and there's like a
Is it kind of like
certain.
Chipotle?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna give my Qdoba story, or you could call
Okay.
it my Chipotle story, or whatever.
Okay.
So, um, there were two, and this is kind of like Southwest, kind of Mexican grills that were sort of battling it out.
Okay.
And these two grills, one was called Azteca, and the other one was called Zteca.
Okay.
And so you can see that that's a
Yeah.
little confusing. So Zteca changed their name to Qdoba. Okay. Now this is a long time ago. This is way before Chipotle.
Okay.
All right. So this whole like Mexican grill concept is not a new concept, and it's not a concept that Chipotle invented.
Got you.
But Chipotle, the advantage that Chipotle had was Chipotle, at least for a period of time, was owned by, at least a sizable portion of it was owned by McDonald's. And so they were able to use that machine to proliferate,
Got you.
to,
Makes
the
sense.
restaurant. And of course, Qdoba did a little more kind of grassroots and,
Okay.
kind of a thing. So there's still Qdobas all over the place,
Okay.
but people tend to think of Qdoba as like a copy of Chipotle.
Got
And
you.
really, it's not the case. Actually,
Check
Chipotle
you out.
copied
You
Qdoba.
you an underground Mexican restaurant connoisseur, bro.
Yeah. But getting back to La Bambas, though, man, La Bambas. So, with that Mexican sausage,
Yeah.
So La Bambas, when I moved back to Columbus, because I was born in Columbus, I moved back to
Okay.
Columbus.
You know what's funny? I met your aunt years ago, back in probably '97,
Okay.
and she had told me about you. That's
Okay.
when I got hip to you. We was playing somewhere, and she came out, and she says, "I have a nephew that plays, and
Okay.
Thunder Wallace." And I checked you out. I was like, "Wow, Captain's a bad dude, boy." Yeah.
But when I moved back, because there was a La Bamba on Western Michigan University campus. That's where I did my undergrad. And man, me and my buddy Mark Landis, Marcus, I was in his wedding, best man in his wedding, and we were roommates in college, and trumpet player.
Okay.
Great trumpet player, both
Got
sides
you.
of the instrument. And he did a master's degree. We did our master's degree together there.
Okay.
I think he finished his a year after I finished mine, and then he went down to Miami University, University of Miami.
Okay.
He went down there to study.
I wonder if he knows Kyle Swan.
He might.
Okay.
Then he moved to Chicago. He was in Chicago for like 10 years.
Okay.
Playing professionally, and then he decided he wanted to become an ophthalmologist. I think he was somewhat influenced by his wife, who is an eye surgeon.
Got you.
And so he went and got that, and he plays. He doesn't play as much as he was before, but fine player. But anyhow, he was my roommate, and we used to go to La Bambas all the time.
Oh,
Mexican sausage.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
then, and before I moved away from Kalamazoo, they shut down La Bambas, and they brought in. You know what? They brought in some other Mexican restaurant, and I didn't end up going there. But
Okay.
then, thank you so much for watching my video so far. If you'd like to support, there are several ways to do so below. Also, likes are free. Please comment, share, and subscribe. Now back to the video.
Okay.
But then, Qdoba had began, and actually it was Z-Tech, and then it changed its name to Qdoba. So that was before I think I moved out of Kalamazoo.
Gotcha.
So when I got back to Columbus and took the job at Ohio State, and that was in 04.
Okay.
Lo and behold, La Bambas. How about this? Right across from High Street. And I was going there way too much, and it's probably a good thing that the place doesn't exist anymore.
I feel you, bro. Yeah, but that's where we met, man. I think I was on my way out. You were on your way in.
Yeah.
And, I think we sat down and talked for a while, talking about mouthpieces, and then I think after that, man, that might have been 206, 205.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
And then we was playing in Postal together. You remember that?
See, that's the right. That was the first time we played together, actually, I think.
Yeah, and recorded together, because you remember we did a record with them.
That's right.
Ensemble thing. I never heard.
That's right.
You ever hear it?
I don't think I ever heard it. No, I didn't hear it either. But it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun, man. Yeah, that ensemble was me, you, but you were. I think we were both playing tenor on that. I think we were both
right, because I think they had another alto player.
They had.
It was another horn player. Right?
Olivia was playing alto, I think.
Right,
and,
right.
Ted Chubb was playing trumpet.
Right.
And Shane was playing drums, and Scott.
Right.
On bass.
And honestly, I think that was one of the first times I played with those guys.
Oh wow! Okay.
Scott Gold and Shane Willis.
Okay. And then you had a band with them too.
I had a band with them, but before that band, I was playing in the group with Steve Wood.
Okay.
What was this band called? I can't. Yeah, I'm not. It's not coming to mind right now. But
we're getting old, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, we played together in that band, and then I had those guys come over, and of course I played a bunch of gigs with those guys.
Yeah.
Especially Shane.
Yep.
Good dude.
Yeah, man.
All right, Eddie. Tell us about your upbringing in maybe your earliest experiences with music, and maybe some of the music and things that were happening around the house, early mentor figures, and maybe like when did you really get turned on by music and you were like, you know what, this is going to have to be it.
Right. Man, well, my dad was he was actually a bebop trumpet player. So he kind of situation like yours, man. He had all the records. My mom, she was kind of more into the Motown, reggae, because she's Jamaican, so she had a lot of that music, a lot of Motown records, and champagne soul, stuff like that. And then my dad, he had like a lot of big band. He was a big band fanatic, and so a lot of Duke Ellington, a lot of Count Basie, a lot of Dizzy big band stuff. And then his friend, so like around 6 or 7, I started playing with piano a little bit, and just like learning triads and little basic things like that. And his buddy John Brown, who's a great alto player, used to play with Dizzy's big band. He lived down the street, so he'd always come over, and that's kind of like where I got a little itching for, like, hey, I want a saxophone, kind of thing. And I got a alto, probably like I was in seventh group, I was in first, going into second by the time I got my alto. And he was showing me little things about the horn and the mechanics of it, getting the sound out of it, you know, little things like that. And I would take my dad's records, like, and I would take them up to my room and I would just listen to him zone out. The first record that I stole from his collection was actually John Handy, Hard Work. I sit and listen to that, listen. Then Norman Connors was big in our area where I'm from in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So there was a record that he did, had Gary Bartz, Carlos Garnett. And I love that record for some weird reason, man, because it reminded me of like Star Trek music. I was like real into Star Trek. But in fact, I went back and started reinvestigating that record because I think that was the record that really like made me fall in love with the music. There was so many things, so many flavors on that record, a lot of avant-garde free stuff, a lot of funk, you know. And I'm going back and I'm listening to Carlos Garnett, tenor player, great tenor player. I'm listening to the way he plays and how he jumps all over the horn and stuff like that. And I think, you know, that kind of stuff was like osmosis for me, you know, because like when I listen back to a lot of avant-garde stuff now, it doesn't sound so far out to me. I think it was because of that record, you know. And then my dad started making me transcribe Frank Foster. That was his dude. He loved Frank Foster. So I remember I had to learn Cherokee, one of the solos he did with the Basie Orchestra. And then my aunt, she used to hang out with Johnny Hodges a lot. So every time she would come over the house, she would be like, play me some Johnny Hodges. So I had to go listen to those records, you know, and try to play that stuff. And really fell in love with it. It was cool. I wasn't so much in love with it, but it was cool, you know. And then I kind of veered off the hip hop for a while. And then I heard Sonny Rollins' G-Man, that video where he's playing the you know that. And I don't know, man. I was just totally enthralled by that. And I said, Dad, I want a tenor. And he said, okay, if you want a tenor, boom. He said, but we're not going to start with no G-Man. So get that out your mind. You know, he started giving me stuff, a lot of Frank Foster, a lot of Illinois Jacquet, you know, cats like them. And then Willis Jackson, I would take a lot of his records. I always loved that kind of sound. But definitely G-Man was the place where I kind of fell in love with it. I said, yeah.
So what is it about music per se that allows you to be yourself and, you know, to be creative and express what you feel like you only can do through music?
I mean, to me, music's like a universe, bro. There's so many avenues, and especially like with the tenor, you know, you can listen to so, like, you can fill a stadium up with all the cats from back in the day, man. They all had their own thing. They all had their own approaches, their own sounds. You know, the tenor, for alto, man, when I was playing alto, I just couldn't. And I marvel at you, man, because, like, you know, there's some cats like, you know, when I listen to you, I'm like, yeah, you really came from the Stitch school, because a lot of cats can't, you put a voice on all the instruments. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you could play the alto fluently, you play the tenor fluently, you could speak your mind on it. I could never do that, man. It was always the tenor as far as expression. Like classical music, yeah, I was, definitely playing classical music on alto, but I never could. I just didn't hear it like that.
Well, it's interesting the sound of the instrument, if it doesn't have some sort of effect on your ideas on your playing, it seems to me that maybe you're not listening. And unfortunately, there's a lot of saxophone players, especially younger players, that have sort of learned the finger patterns, but aren't really listening to what it is that they're playing.
Okay, really, like connected. You mean connected to the voice, like connected to
right, and because I mean the voice. That's what's up, and I think identifying with a particular voice that allows you to access, that's like a wormhole, that pulls certain ideas out of you. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and hey, bro, like you could, some cats can do, what you're talking about on all the instruments. Me, it was always, I think I just hear B flat, like the tenor and soprano, that's, kind of my realm. But yeah, as far as like the tenor players, man, my dad kind of started me like in the regimen of the history. Okay, this is Coleman Hawkins, this is Lester Young, this is Ben Webster, so on and so on. And I remember he gave me Sunny Side Up record. I was listening to it. Now, he was a big Stitt fan. My dad loved Sonny Stitt. That was his dude. I'm Team Rollins. I love Sonny Stitt, but I think I just gravitated more toward that school of thought.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, but I love, man, one thing about Sonny Stitt, and I'll say this, man, is he taught the language, not just in the jazz world, but in the R&B world, like all the Fathead, you can hear all these, Stitt was the backbone of a lot of music, man. And he don't really get the credit. He taught Pee Wee Ellis. In fact, Pee Wee Ellis produced a record for him. It was a funk record, like in the 70s. Pretty nice stuff too. But Sonny Stitt's a bad dude. So much respect to that cat. Much respect to that dude. And I know that's your man, like him and Train. The very
those are my two biggest influences.
Yeah, for sure.
I always call on Sonny Rollins when I want to discuss like extroverted accenting.
Okay.
That really,
right.
all of that, really in your face.
Yeah.
Very aggressive, unapologetic,
yes.
Husky.
Yes. And, man, I think like by the time I got to that point, I was so enthralled in hip hop. So when I heard Rollins, it was like, man, this is so like gangster.
Yeah, it's
right.
I got it.
So, yep. Yeah. So
yeah, it's interesting, that of folks that are in our age, sort of range. There's a lot of musicians that, it's like bebop and hip hop. It's like that's like their forefather, forefathers.
Right.
There's there's a lot of cats that way. I was a hip hop head, big hip hop head growing up.
Oh yeah, bro. We from that age group.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't help it. I mean that stuff was the truth.
It was there.
You know?
It was there, man.
Yeah, and the good stuff like Tribe Called Quest,
Right.
Eric B. and Rakim. The good stuff was actually a lot of the samples that they were using were of great classic jazz recordings.
That's what I remember. I went to see Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff. It was like, it was like their first record, and you remember back in those days, the DJ would have a song by himself, and there was a tune that Jazzy Jeff did was called "The Touch of Jazz," and it had all these jazz samples, and I was like, wow. Okay, who is this cat? Who is this sound that I'm hearing? I find out it was Trevor Lawrence. Who's this sound on the trumpet? I find out it's Donald Byrd. So I would go to my uncle. Now my uncle, my dad, his thing was like bebop. He didn't mess with the avant-garde, soul jazz, hard bop, that kind of stuff. My uncle, on the other hand, he had like all the Archie Shepp records. He had the John Lake Coltrane records. He had the ESP records. He had the Last Poets. He had that. So I would go and get records from him that my dad didn't have and listen to that stuff,
Yeah, I actually produced a couple hip hop artists. When I was
I gotta hear some of this stuff, man.
I don't even know if I can find it anymore.
Was this back in Detroit?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up in Lansing area. Okay. But yeah, it would have been it was a couple guys I knew from.
Okay.
So one of them I was kind of like 18, 19, and the other one I was 22, 23 or something.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean it just seemed natural. It seemed natural because, well, first of all, my dad owned a record company, and actually recently he just received some pretty big checks for royalties for some songs that he had written like in the 60s or something.
Wow, cool, man. Your dad plays saxophone too, right?
Right. So he doesn't play anymore, but he was a great saxophone player. Sounded like Lou Donaldson.
Oh, that was his cat. Okay.
Yeah, and I keep saying to myself that, okay, so I've got a recording of him playing, and I keep saying that I'm going to transcribe this solo, and give it to him, like as a gift, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. But he sounds like Lou Donaldson.
Yeah, hey man, that's a cat to be, bro. That was his phrasing, Lou Donaldson, man.
Yeah, he had a lot of facility on the instrument, and he loved the blues. He had that sound.
Yes,
I remember like early on. I mean, so he was my teacher all the way until I went to college.
I got you.
And I got 3 or 4 lessons a week. And then I lived with my teacher. So he was hearing what it was that I was doing in the practice. Yeah, that's right. He was hearing what it was that I was practicing.
We both. I know what you mean.
And so that's
man, it's a good thing, bro, because
it really is.
It gives you that foundation, man. Like, and that's one thing I'm gonna tip my hat to you, because I hear some of your students, man. And no matter where artistically you want to go with the music, I don't. Whatever you do is what you do. But if you have that foundation, that's so valuable, man. You gotta have the foundation.
Well, some of my students listen better than others. But that is what the tendency is. I think often is the case that natural ability can create a certain kind of stubbornness, and that stubbornness it's like two sides of a coin. In one sense, the stubbornness is a good thing because it means that you're gonna stick with something.
Right.
On the other side, stubbornness maybe is not that good a thing because you can save yourself a lot of time by just listening.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think about the way I was when I was a student. I interviewed my teacher, Trent Keniston.
Okay.
Who's been
I've heard that name
a lot
before.
of great. Oh yeah, he's been a teacher of a lot of great saxophone players.
He got a book out too, right?
That's right. Daily Studies or whatever.
Yeah, I had that book.
Yes, that is the standard reference. And
good stuff.
One of his commissions written by Robert Muchinsky. What is it? The Muchinsky Sonata is the standard reference in classical saxophone. It's a standard reference. Everyone plays in it. Every single conservatory in the world. It's one of these pieces. Also, he was a great transcriber, and he was one of the one of the first really prolific and really
getting the details.
Yeah, all of the details. Matter of fact, the plus symbol that we see all the time now for false fingering.
Okay.
That came from him. Now, when I interviewed him and talked to him about it, he was trying to give credit to someone else.
Okay, you had him on one of these quarantine things?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but but heavy dude, really good dude. But I think about what kind of student I was to him, and I was always respectful. But I had an idea of what I thought certain things were.
And I mean, you came from, but see, you had a foundation before you went there, so.
That's true. It's true. But I just wonder. And even with my dad, you get to a certain age, and you think something. Right?
Oh yeah, bro. I remember.
You don't really know. But
I know. I remember, right? Man. I had to play Body and Soul. I was in junior high. I had to play Body and Soul. I played it. I had the melody. I thought I did something on it. So my dad was there. I said, "So Dad, how'd that sound?" He just looked at me like, you should know how you sound. You sound like, I'm not gonna say the word, but I think you need, he's like, I think you need to go check the Cova Hawkins record. I was like, yeah. So I mean, I definitely, you get put in your place, yeah.
And now check it out, because everything has kind of gotten soft these days. You can't really talk to students like teachers used to be able to talk to students, right?
Yeah, right. Like how we came up.
Right. You can't really say
really.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
That's right. And in some ways that's probably good. Because certain kind of like B rating, a la Whiplash.
You're right.
B rating is just not productive.
No doubt.
However, this whole sort of, like the teacher is the employee of the student sort of perspective on things. There's much to be desired.
Yeah.
That is not.
that's a you know that's a tough one, Sean, because I mean, you know how we came up. Even when you played in bands, you know, you went to the neighborhood clubs or whatever, you know, you would get scolded. And you kind of had to accept that.
Yep.
You know, and that would make you go home and practice, you know, because I mean, everybody has a method on how they do things, but, you know, Cass was really just trying to help you out.
Right.
You know, because, I mean, you know how it is, man. You could get to a certain place on your instrument, and I could tell you were pretty fast. You were pretty fast learner. You know, you know, going through your things. So, you know, when you kind of arrive to a certain space, you're like, whoa. You know, I don't want to say you're feeling yourself, but you know, you know, the ego can kind of, you know, rise, and that's normal for that's normal for anybody. You know what I mean? But if you don't have somebody there to keep it in check, you know, to let you know, hey, you know, you just stepping into a larger world, you know. Like, I mean, we had our parents that, you know, fortunately we had, you know, you had your dad, I had my dad, you know, and man, I wish I had listened to him a little more. You know, because there was a point where I got super rebellious. You know, I'm like, you know, this is your music. This is what you listen to. You know, and like I said, I was going getting my uncle's music and, you know, listening to that. And I remember him trying to put me on the Dexter Gordon. And I was like, yeah, Dexter's good. He's bad. He's a bad dude. But, you know, I want to deal with more adventurous cats. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, all right, you know, go ahead and do your thing. You know, but it's funny, man, like probably in the last, since this time that we've had, man, you know, I've been going back listening to a lot of Dexter Gordon. I'm like, wow, man, I wish I would have spent more time on this. You understand what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, it's interesting.
bro, but you come back, you know, like, you know, it's like I said, man, you know, once you have that foundation, wherever you go, you're always going to come back to square one anyway. You know, and that's something, you know, man, I've been listening to a lot of the players, especially before they died. Like, I've been, like, all the cats that I'm really into, I kind of listened to their last record, and I really, there's something there, man. You know, it's, I was listening to Fathead's last record. I was just listening to how he played the blues, how he was dealing with that, and it was so skillful. The sound was so, you know, everything was there, and he could distill it into this most simplistic way and lyrical way. You know, Joe Henderson, listen to his last record, same thing. You know, Michael Brecker, I listened to his last record, same. You know, I just been listening to the cat named Heidi Kalaman. You hip to him?
Not as much.
Okay, Heidi Kalaman. He's a bad dude, man. He's out of I want to say LA area. Used to play with Freddie Hubbard in the 70s. Bad dude, bad dude. You would dig him. Comes out the Joe thing, kind of like mesh between Joe and Jimmy Cook. But, you know, same thing. I listened to his, you know, last output, and I'm like, man, these cats were so masterful. And you could tell they practiced all the way up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Until they left. You know?
That Pilgrimage record.
Oh.
You know,
yeah.
Michael Brecker Pilgrimage. That's a...
Because the spiritual thing that he was dealing with on that record, man, it was there.
That's the record. You know, Michael was great and all kind of great. And
for sure.
Much of the time that he was on Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that last record, that was like the record I was waiting for.
Yeah, man.
That was the record I was waiting for him to make. A really great record.
Yeah, so, you know, and that's the thing, man. This is a thing from the cradle to the grave, bro. You know, it's so we're here. We got the time. Like I said, music's a universe, man. You're gonna explore it. It's just so much stuff. But like I said, that foundation and fundamentals. Once you have that, you to go explore. That's how I feel.
Yeah, okay, so so we're as we kind of started talking about how kind of crazy everything is right now. And music is one of those things that if you let it can provide an intense sense of peace,
yes,
and fulfillment, even when everything around is falling down. And
yes, it does.
It can still create that sort of oasis. And something I've said frequently in this interview series is I can't think of something, a career path that would have, other than music, that would have led to so many instantaneous friendships.
Oh, for sure.
You play one course on a blues, don't see each other for 20 years.
Yep.
Come back. And
you can always hear the sound. You can always hear the person's sound in your head. Everybody's, I know your sound. I know Pete Mill's sound. I know Brian Olszewski's. Everybody's sound, and that sound is always ingrained. It's there forever. Even when we're gone, you're gonna hear that sound, man.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, bro.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. So how have you been able to? I heard you say that you're digging back into some Dexter. What else have you been? Other sort of current developments in music have there been?
Well, I've been working a lot, listening a lot to Kid Jordan. I just did a record with him. I don't know if you're familiar with Kid Jordan, a very avant-garde, free jazz musician, and did a record with him, man, and it really took me to school, man. It for what I want to do and my, my path where I'm going, I really learned a lot. It was a very valuable learning experience, man. We talk like once a week. He was. I mean, I had a couple teachers, but he's definitely like Andy McGee. Learned a lot from him. Gene Walker, learned a lot from him, and a couple other, other cats. But Kid, it's like there's a connection, a bond. You know what I mean? There's a bond there, and whatever I'm going through, I could call him. Hey, I'm working on this. Da 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 da, and and just the stories, man. Too, just the stories, and he always told me he was in the Bird, and I never heard that. I never heard it. I mean, he always had his own thing, very personal player to me, until we recorded. And I could clearly hear the Charlie Parker influence in what he was doing. It wasn't so much the notes or this or that, but it was almost his enclosures, the way he was enclosing things on the blues. I said, that's Bird, and it taught me a lot, So, yeah, that's, it just dealing with the horn, man. I got a new horn, so I bought it right before the lockdown. got an Ishimori. I don't know if you heard of those.
Yeah. You were talking to me about it. We were talking.
Okay. Yeah. So I found, but it's a different. It plays like a 6, and I really don't play on those kind of horns. So it's like I'm trying to get used to that style of horn.
Well, you put a lot of air through the horn, so
Yeah.
So I can see why you would say that.
Yeah.
Because the 6 is going to be a little bit of a smaller bore.
Yeah.
Than I think some of the other horns that I know you've played.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure, get all that kind of stuff in the perspective. I gotta talk to you, man. Do you still endorse LA, right? LA Saturday. Yeah, man. I want to check out their soprano.
Yeah, let's talk about that for sure. You can, we could get together sometime. You can just play my horn.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Actually, it's right back there, hanging on the wall.
Okay, I see it
there.
Okay, I see it. Yeah, I do see it. Yeah, man. Yeah, there's some good horns. There's some good horns, man. Some good horns.
I did. So kind of a quick little history, a little bit of history on those horns. So, Dave Gardalla, and we know Dave Gardalla because he was making those mouthpieces for Michael Brecker. Right. Especially post, Michael blew his neck out. That's the best.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
During that same time period, you notice that he starts playing a lot of Iwi because, of course, Iwi didn't put the same kind of pressure.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I think he developed such great facility on Iwi is because he couldn't play saxophone.
Got you. Okay.
So then he got to the place where, he started to get that strength together, but he couldn't play on the same kind of setups that he was. These huge auto-link mouthpieces with like number 5 reeds.
What was he playing? A 10?
Yeah, he was playing just huge, ridiculous setups. And that's how he was getting that. That's how he was getting that.
Yeah. Wow.
So he wanted to create that same kind of intensity in the sound without having to blow his neck out.
Got you. Yeah, right.
So he got he got with Dave Gardalla.
Okay.
And Gardalla, he actually had different mouthpieces. So he had like 3 different mouthpieces, and one he would start the gig off with, and that was the one that was the most open and that had the most resistance. Then he'd go the mouthpiece 2, which had a little bit less. And then by the end of the gig, maybe he's on mouthpiece setup number 3. So he was stepping down as he, and just depending on how he was feeling, he had a setup that would match what he was feeling like. And so that's how we kind of know Dave Gardalla. Of course, that kind of changed the whole mouthpiece game when he came around. And then you find that there's a lot of like custom mouthpiece makers. Dave kind of spearheaded that whole movement.
Got you.
So anyhow, but the mouthpiece thing was going great. Dave
you play on those?
Wanted to do.
You play on the Gardallas, right?
No, I play on a. I play Van Doren on most everything.
Oh, okay.
My tenor piece is a Gary Sugel.
Sugel, okay. He makes some good mouthpieces. Huh?
Yeah. I really dig those. So he decided, Gardalla decided he wanted to try saxophones. Okay. So the Gardalla horn was basically a BNS horn.
Okay.
That had some specific modifications. Okay. It was a really great horn. I remember actually playing on one.
Oh, really? Bradford played on one for a while, right?
Yeah, I played on one. And great horns, and it was like a horn that I was like, man, I wish I did something to try to own that horn, like because like, I would almost have like these memories of that horn. It's like a phantom.
Okay.
It was just a really great horn. It just something about it.
I got a story for you after this.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is we know the story. Gardala goes to jail. He's doing legal, funky stuff, right? So he ends up going to jail for trying to selling drugs or something in one of the Asian countries, and they don't mess with that.
Yeah.
So so he lost a company, and the company changed names to, let's see here, from Gardala to LA Sax.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So basically the same sort of design kind of went into LA Sax, but after a time they stopped focusing on sort of playability of the horn, and they switched to more like horns with like an American flag on them, or hot pink horn, and a lot of smooth jazz cats liked them because they were really flashy.
Gotcha.
But I think the playability of the horns started to sort of wane.
Okay.
So Bamber, the guy that used to own Woodwind and Brasswind, so the relationship with Woodwind and Brasswind ended, but he still wanted to be involved in saxophones, or he wanted to be involved with some kind of on the manufacturing side.
Gotcha.
So he purchased LA Sax. He bought LA Sax. So the first thing he did was he created a horn called the Big Lip X, and those are the horns that I play on.
Okay.
Okay. So there's this, like I said, all the way back from that Gardala horn that I played on years and years ago. There's there's a hint.
There's a lineage.
Yeah, there's a hint of that in that horn.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's
those are some great horns, man. I remember. I remember Branford was playing those like what in the '90s, late '90s or somewhere up in there.
Something like that.
Yeah, I dug that sound. Yeah, it's a great horn. Speaking of horns, all right, I got a story for you. All right. '96. I had a cursed horn. Like this horn was cursed. Okay. The saxophone is Greg Tardy.
Yes.
Okay. So he had a SML saxophone. You hip to those horns?
Oh yeah.
I saw him playing with Elvin Jones, and I fell in love with that horn. And I said, I really want that horn. So somehow I hooked up with James Carter. I had a Busher 400 at the time. You know him. He always collecting horns. So he was like, hey, man, you want to sell that horn? I said, bro, the only way I'd ever get rid of this horn if Greg Tardy ever gets rid of that SML. 2 years passed by, man. I don't know what happened. I guess all those cats in the New York area, I think Josh, David Sanchez, Greg Tardy, somebody else, Chris Cheeks, it could have been, I can't remember it. But they all started swapping horns. And I think Greg bought Josh's Radio Improve or something. So he sold the SML to Sam Ash. So I get a call like 2:30 in the morning. It's James Carter. He's like, hey, man, you still got that 400? I said, sure. He said, man, if you could get up to New York tonight or like in the morning by, in the afternoon, I'll give you this amount of money. We'll get that Greg Tardy horn. I said, I'll see you there. I'll see you there in the afternoon. So I think I called Mark and I said, hey, bro, we ain't going to class today. We're going to New York. So we went up to New York and I got the horn. And I swear, like the day I left New York, a cab ran into Mark's car and like just hit right after I got out of there. It just hit the car and put like a dent in the horn. Then I go home for Christmas and I'm coming out the bus station, and like where I'm at, everything is like granite and marble. And I had like this real shitty SKB case, and the latches detached and the horn hit the ground. I heard all these people screaming. Then the third one, I was playing somewhere and the neck strap broke off and the horn just hit the ground.
Man.
Then somebody gave me a Series 3. And the studio apartment I was in at the time, I said, I'm gonna take this Series 3. We had some like jazz band. I was still in college. I had some little jazz band thing to go to. I said, let me see how this works. And I left the SML on the bed, and this dude that lived next door to me, I don't know what he was doing, man. I mean, you could go into his, like, sometimes I would give him his mail. We get the raw mail or something. And man, it looked like he was building bombs or something next door. And the spot caught fire that night. And I left the horn. And actually, Tardy had called me. He was like, hey, man, I really made a bad mistake. I'll buy that SML back, no matter the price, no matter what. And I said, wow, well, if I like this Series 3, I'll sell the SML back to you and make a little profit or something. But I got back home that night, man, and my crib was toast. And the horn was sitting right on the bed, so it just never sounded the same. I tried to get it redone and everything. I had to call Tardy. I was like, hey, dude, I'm sorry to tell you, bro, but the horn is gone, man. It hurt. It hurt both of us. But yeah, man, that's my cursed horn story.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was really wild. It wanted its owner back.
Hey, man, did you see that? I don't know if you're into like horror flicks.
Mm-hmm.
There was a show, and this show must have been on maybe in the 90s. It was called Friday the 13th, and it was, but it wasn't about Jason. It was this.
It was a series.
Yeah. Curious.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. You're gonna make me go back in the archives and pull those out, man.
that reminds that story you just told me that could have been one of the episodes.
Dude, I'm serious. Like, it wanted Greg Tardy back. I was like, wow, this is crazy, man. But yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. Some little saxophone stuff, man.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
so,
man.
So we have a lot of folks in common, right?
Yes, sir.
One of the people that we have in common that credits you as being a main mentor when he was coming up, especially, is Hamilton Harden.
Oh yeah, man, Hambone. You know what? In fact, I think Hambone has that horn. I think he got that SML, man. I think he has it now. Yeah. Well, he making it work. He making it work. So yeah. Hambone, man. Hambone, very, very cool cat, man. Very, very talented dude, man. He was amazing on all the instruments, man. But anything I gave him, any little knowledge I had to share with him, or about the horn or whatever, he'd take it, absorb it, come back, and he'd be, light speed, give me more. I remember, oh man, I used to just give him records, I think I gave him Crazy People music. I think that was the first thing I ever gave him. It was Crazy People.
That record, man.
Yeah, that was something, wasn't it?
That, man, I listened.
Did he play Gardalo? Did he play that Gardalo on that horn? I mean, that record?
I don't know. I don't know if he was playing.
Because I think that was around the time I saw him. I think he was playing that. I think he might have. It was a unique thing. It was, Branford had got. He got to he put it all together, man. because I didn't know too much about Branford's history before that. I think I might have heard him on what was the record with Delphio's Lemon, all that stuff, Black Holes.
Right.
But I didn't hear nothing prior to that. So Black Holes, I think I might have heard, I bought Renaissance, then Random Abstract, and then Crazy People. And I was like, whoa, this is like, he's putting all these things together.
Crazy People music. That's a
it's a band sound, man. That band.
Dude, for me, that's almost like a what's that what's the monument with the forefathers or
Mount
whatever?
Rushmore.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, bro. That's
like one of them Mount Rushmore joints.
Yeah, man, because that, I bought it on vinyl. I bought it at a hip hop record store. I remember I bought that. On vinyl. I can remember the day I bought that. I bought Soul to Soul, their record, and I think I bought a Big Daddy Kane record. And then I said, yeah, right. And then I bought Crazy People. I had all 4 of those records on vinyl, man. And when I went home and put that Crazy People music on, man, I think I had to go get a cassette. Like I said, I had to go back to the record store. I walked back down to the record store and bought the cassette because I knew I had to listen to that, the next day in school.
Yeah, that's that record. And Branford sounds great on that.
Yeah,
but it's much more than it. Like you said, it's a band sound.
It was.
Kenny Kirkland is ridiculous on that.
Oh, bro, man, because I was trying to figure out what that stuff was. I was like, man, I've heard by this point. I probably was in high school. I listened to a lot, a good amount of jazz at this point. And I said, man, these cats are doing something different. I said, I don't know what it is, but fortunately for me, man, I grew up around Tim Warfield. I didn't know him at this point, but he lived in York, Pennsylvania, and he would, this is about the time I'm starting to get out a little bit on our scene, what little scene we had in Harrisburg, and I heard Tim. I said, man, he's kind of doing this stuff that Branford's doing, and I would just go every week whenever he was playing, and I'd be the little fly on the wall and just sit and listen. I said, man, what are you doing? It's very similar to Branford. He's like, oh yeah, they call that burning out, bro. So, huh? Okay, I got to find all the burnout records I can find. He started hitting me to Terrence. I think Terrence's band. I started. Who else? Courtney Pine. All these kind of different dudes, man, that were kind of dealing with this kind of language. That kind of language. It was cool, man. It was cool, but Crazy People music, man.
Yeah. Everybody's killing, but Kenny Kirkland. Kirkland's my favorite piano player.
I could dig that, man. I can.
He's my favorite piano player. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, I love Herbie. Of course, I love I love a pile of piano.
Yeah. These are people that we were here in our time, man. This was the music of our generation. You know what I mean? Like, we could go see these people and which is weird because now, and for me, man, YouTube don't have the same effect. I mean, you can. I like to go. Man, we had a really good jazz society. It was really good, man. We got to see, I got to see. I remember I saw Courtney. He came with Ralph Peterson, Shawnette Moffett. I think Cyrus was supposed to do the gig, but he didn't show up. So they just ended up rocking trio. Got to see that. A lot of cats, man. I think I haven't seen a young Chris Potter with Red Rodney. You know, we got to see a lot of, you know, especially the Masters, of course, you know, Ira Sullivan. There's a lot of people, man. But just to go see it, and be around them, and man, that's you can't replace that. You know.
Now, can you talk about the Columbus scene? Now, and the period I'm most interested in would be the period maybe the 90s, going up into maybe 2001, 2002, in that kind of range. Now, Perez Whitted, who used to work at Ohio State, and I know that you guys had a band together, and you were playing at what's the name of that? What is the name of the
Barrister Hall in the Dell? That's
right, Barrister Hall.
Yeah.
But can you talk about the scene?
It was nice, man. It was really nice. There was always great players around here. It was when we moved here, we were kind of influenced by that burnout kind of thing, you know, that language, that kind of thing. Perez, he was into that, but he was into another thing too. So me and James, them, you know, Mark, Chris Hoyt, there was a lot of other cats. But when we got the band together, we just had the right cats. It was a certain cat. It was a band, you know, the thing, and Frez is a great mentor. You know, I can't not go without saying that. One of my best friends. And you know, he always stressed the band thing. You know what I mean? He was always a good leader. And I think we had Lavelle Bradford on piano. He was definitely in the Kenny. That was his dude. Maybe before that, it was what's the young boy that moved to Atlanta from here? I'm getting old, Sean. Well, his father,
Kenny Banks.
Kenny Banks. There you go. Kenny Banks. His dad was like probably the first cat that was in the band. And then I think he moved, and then we got Lavelle, and James was on drums. There was a cat named Chris Haney. I think he lives in New York now. You know, he was. So we were playing like original music, a lot of Frez's originals, and you know, he was mixing a lot of funk vibe into it. You know, like how like Roy Hargrove's band. With Tony and Rodney Whitaker and what was the old boy's name? The first band with Antonio Hart now, the drummer, Greg Hutchison.
Yeah, right.
Me and Tim was talking about this the other day. He was like one of the first cats that could make an acoustic band sound like a hip hop band.
Right.
And they could really, you know, like on the vibe, you know, that record, you know.
Right.
Well, Frez, he could make a straight ahead band sound like a funk band. And, you know, like from his era or what it was. Now, I think that's what was kind of popular about it. So it was
like a Kenny Garrett. It's like a Kenny Garrett thing.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But, you know, with Frez's thing. But,
right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's, you know, I think for that time it was different. It was, and I don't think there was a lot of bands around here. There was a lot of great players doing, you know, mix and match and doing their own thing. But, you know, that was like a band. And it had good success, man. It was, you know, in the scene, you had Bobby Floyd here at, you could go in the hood and hear Bobby Floyd on Saturdays, and it would be packed. So, you know, then you had Gene Walker, in another place in the hood, and it was packed, you know, and who else? It was really thriving, man. It was still in the neighborhoods. You understand what I'm saying? You could there was one dude that used to play at the Cannon Bar. I can't remember his name. He was an organ player, man. Dude sounded like Charles Irwin. He had some dude, man. I never seen this dude again. He used to play alto with him. I remember I walked, man, this cat played like Joe Henderson on alto. I said, where you been, bro? That was the first and last time I ever saw him. And, I don't know who that dude was, but it was like that. So you could, you probably had like 10 clubs, man, that was, just swinging, man. And it kind of happened all the way up until maybe 201. When the buildings went down, and that was a shift. It was a shift. It was different after that. But that's why I'm really interested to see what this is going to be like, because this is even worse than, I don't know if it's, they're both tragic, but there's something about this, man. I don't think things are going to be the same. Like where we left it. It's going to be a whole new world. It's a new thing on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm a realist, and what I mean by that is that I want to speak with precision and accuracy, devoid of a particular slant on the way that things actually are. That's my goal. And I want to see things that way so that I can make adjustments to the way I do things to end up with the best outcome. If I just try to see things on a positive side, maybe that'll make me feel good, but it won't necessarily be good.
I got you.
And if I'm too much on the negative side, then then it's just miserable in the moment, and also probably hold you back from achieving something, because being negative is a kind of misinformation. Being positive is a kind of misinformation. So, and now my wife might tell you that I'm a pessimist. By the way, she might say that, but sometimes the truth is the truth isn't positive.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes.
Truth is going to be truth. Right. It is what it is. Right.
So, yeah, I have a hard time seeing seeing a possibility of things being better or even the same once all of this is over.
It's going to be different.
It's definitely going to be different. Yeah. I think that there are some things that we can benefit from. One of those things is that I think everyone has been forced to sort of interface with screens, for longer periods of time, and also get their sort of live streaming chops together. And
hey, man, this is my first one. So I'm a doctor, bro.
Yeah, but everybody's been forced to have to interface this way more.
Right.
And so I think that there is a sense of normalizing that. And so maybe it's possible to find a way to take advantage of that, to exploit that reality. So I think that's possible.
Yeah.
But as far as like playing live gigs, as far as doing it on a regular enough clip to make a good living,
Yeah, that's going to be the
very
challenge.
concerned.
Yeah, that's going to be a
Yeah, I'm
challenge.
very concerned. I'm very
Because a
concerned.
lot of clubs is closing up now. You know, I mean, they just can't. You know, they're closing up. I don't know, man. You know, I mean, I think we're going to find a way through technology. You know, but I'm still. It's like when CDs and records went to MP3s. At first, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I couldn't, you know. But now, like my girl just bought a record player. I'm like, hey, if we ever move all the records, you moving that. I'm not. All my music is in my phone, and I'm so like into that now.
Yeah, but the thing is so here's I think here's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
For people that are at least our age, well, not at least our age, we'll say mid 30s.
Okay.
We'll say mid to late 30s and older.
Uh-huh.
We're old enough to remember having to actually go to a store to pick out a record that we wanted.
Right.
Having to save up money to go and get that record.
Right.
And that encouraged a certain reverence of the music.
Yes.
And we would wear those recordings out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it created a certain depth. Okay?
For sure.
Now, I think it's possible to transfer that sense of meaning and depth to, you know, something that's on your phone if you had that experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
If you did,
because I listen. You know, I buy whole records. I don't even. I buy stuff, so I buy the whole record. You know.
But what I'm saying is, if you had that experience at some time, I think you can transfer that.
Yeah.
But if you never had that experience, and it's like everything's free, everything's on YouTube, everything's streaming services,
dude, you know when I knew it was bad, my daughter's into K-pop. So her band, you know, I bought her a whole bunch of those records. And I said, let me hear some of this stuff, you know. Man, she would play me like 5 seconds of the song. I'm like, I didn't get it, you know, and then she moved right on to the next thing. And I was like, wow, this is how these younger kids are processing music. Or
well, check it out. I mean, you know, everybody these days, the popular thing to do is to say that you're into everything, right? Say, hey, well, what kind of music you like? Oh yeah, I like everything. I like all kind of.
Right.
You know, I like this kind of music and that kind of. I like everything.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's cool. What artists are you into? Oh yeah, you know, I like this artist, and this. Okay, that's cool. Name me a record from one of them artists that you into. Well, I kind of think of more like songs.
Yeah, because everything.
Well, you know, all right. Well, name me like 10 songs. You know, they can't name 10 songs. You know, right? So it just keeps getting it. You know, it's so what it seems to encourage is a broad swath, but very shallow. You know, very shallow of that, right? Whereas for us, because of the monetary component associated with right, and because of the physical, you know, this is it's a
we could touch it. Yeah, we could.
That's right. That it seems to encourage much more depth.
Yes.
You know, I'll tell you one of my favorite records. Song of Songs.
Okay, songbook.
Kenny Garrett. Songbook.
Bad record, yeah.
Okay. So, look, man. I played that record so much.
How many times did you buy it?
Right, exactly. You know, exactly. That's my point. You know,
Yeah.
so, but you know, I played that thing so many times, I don't even know if it works anymore.
Right.
You
I
know what I'm
bought it
saying?
like two or three
And it was a
times.
CD, and it was a CD,
Yeah, right.
right? And yeah. So I just don't. I don't see folks that didn't have that experience with music.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
see them putting that kind of time in on any particular thing
Or having that kind of love for it. Yeah.
because there's too many shining objects, and
Yeah.
everything is
Yeah.
easily accessible.
Yeah.
Oh, let me get this.
And that, that's one of the hurdles. That's one of the hurdles. You remember kind of like movies, maybe like Hollywood or whatever, that it was kind of getting into that, like with the whole reality shows and all that kind of stuff. And then like Netflix arose and all streaming things started arising.
Yep.
And I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said we need something like that for music. If like if you could go to a place where you're like, hey man, I want to listen specifically to some bebop kind of jazz, it's here. Okay, I want to listen to some free avant-garde, it's here. You know, some I don't know. I'm just talking out loud. I don't know how it's going to work, but we kind of need something like these streaming platforms for visual, for the audio at some point, because everything is lumped.
That's interesting. And I can see that for people of our age, again, that had that tactile experience.
Got you.
The music, I can see that would be tremendously beneficial for us. I don't know that would be beneficial in the way that we think it might be
for the younger generation,
for younger folks.
That's deep.
Because
because
they never had.
Right, I keep forgetting they're like the Napster generation, right? I mean, they came up. I mean, well, they're past Napster, but yeah, I mean, yeah, wow, dude, yeah. So like everything for them, and see. And like I definitely did what you're saying. We don't have a filter no more. Right. There's not. I mean, as we're speaking, there's probably like 40 albums that's been like shot off to YouTube right now. You know what I mean? So,
right.
There's music coming out like every second.
Yeah, but, and check it out. There's a positive thing about equal access. To technology and the ability to, everybody's got a home studio, everybody's got, there's a positive to that, right, as far as access. But with that extra access means that more mediocre stuff is also going out. It's not just all great stuff. This is one of the misnomers I think about New York. Okay. Yeah. Some of the greatest musicians in the world live in New York, and there's a lot of really great ones that live in New York. There's also a bunch of mediocre and terrible ones too. Okay.
I'm not a critic, bro. So but I definitely follow what you're saying, and I definitely see the positive for me with it is like a cat like Kid Jordan. I couldn't have heard his records back in the 90s.
Right.
I have access to his output now.
Right.
You understand? For me, now everything is subjectful. Everybody got their own tastes and standards. There's definitely things that I hear like I'll use an example like with hip hop. The stuff I grew up listening to and really loving. You know what I mean? Like,
there's not a lot of that stuff existed today.
No. Right? So, I mean, but I don't care so much about the artistry of what they do. Like mumble rap, to me, that's kind of like their version of avant-garde for jazz, right? But now follow me where I'm going. what I don't appreciate is the killing or the negative message, right?
Yeah.
Artistically, we could talk about, okay, this is simple or this is whack or whatever. But, you know, when it gets to the point of negativity, that's kind of like, I ain't feeling that. But, you know, then at the other side, I hear some underground stuff that is really killing. That's like, you know, in the vein of what I like, and I see them pushing, and they wouldn't have a chance. So
understand my point is not that all of the new stuff is garbage.
No, I get
That's
that.
not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's as much good stuff and great stuff as there ever has been.
Right.
But the problem is that it's mixed in. Right. It's mixed in with all of this other crap, and it's a lot more of it. So it makes it a lot harder to make decisions about how I want to invest my time. And what do I really want to listen to?
And unfortunately, and that's something we're gonna, you know, because that tears like this whole thing. What you're talking about tears down the notion now, man, because anybody can make a record.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't stop anybody from making a record. And no matter how we look at the quality of their music or their output, they can still have a good quality record out there, you know, sonically, or you know what I mean? So it's hard for the music lover, you know what I mean? Just the fan of music to know what is what anymore. So yeah, it's that's the challenge. Because you know, we had gatekeepers back in the 90s. You had
right, and see, you know, that's where I was trying to get to.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the whole thing with like Netflix and Hulu and all these kind of places. It's like these are boutiques. So you know, if you're looking for a style of music or a style of movie, you're gonna go there to get that. But now, if we could have something like that for music, where we have a boutique where we say, okay, this is Sean Wallace music. This is, you know, this is Wynton Marsalis music. This is in this vein of stuff. This here is Kid Jordan music. This is Eddie Bayard music. This is Chris Potter music. This is so and so and so and so. And these people who are into that specific kind of thing, they could go there and stream it, or you know, I don't know, man. I'm not that savvy, dude. This is my first, but I think if we, you know, somebody could figure that out, that'd be great. You know.
Yeah, and I don't want people to get too upset with me for seeming to throw New York under the bus, because I'm not throwing.
Oh no, man! You know what's funny, man?
I love New York. Don't get me wrong.
But you know, there's great jazz musicians everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's and that's the thing. Like, I mean, you know, and they were always around, but now you can kind of hear them. You have you know what I'm saying? I mean, New York is definitely a mecca, and I don't keep up too much on the straight ahead as of now. You know, I know what's you had him on your cast. What's the tenor player? Got a lot of technique. Kind of Chris
McCaslin.
McCaslin, yeah, he's doing some interesting stuff. You know, so Cat's kind of more in our generation. I'm kind of familiar with. I'm not so familiar with like the millennial cats as much. I mean, I hear some cats and they're really dope, but I'm not really so familiar by name of some of those cats.
Man, you know, we could talk for another like 3 hours easily.
I know, dude.
Easily.
Man, bro. Hey, bro, this is a great thing that you're doing too, man. You know, keep doing it, man. You know,
man, I'm definitely gonna have to have you back, man, because
dude. Hopefully we get to play together again, man. You know what? Somebody had a tape of us, man. I got to find it when we was doing the trio stuff. I mean, the two horns and drums and bass, man. Remember we played at Dick's Den?
Yep.
We did that for like a year or so. We did that off and on for a year with James.
We had some gigs. We had a nice
that one gig, the festival.
It's good stuff, man. I miss playing with you, man. And
man, yeah, likewise, bro. We'll definitely do it again, man. And man, I'm glad you're doing good and the family's doing good. You know,
yeah.
And how's your son now?
My son is 7 years old.
Is he playing trumpet?
Or
is he drum?
He has a trumpet and he has drums and he has a guitar.
Okay.
And he really is more into football.
Okay. He'll come back around.
Which is football, and he has a really man, it's amazing how much stuff they absorb.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible, the kind of stuff that he's like asking me questions about. I'm like, I was not thinking about that when I was 7.
Well, yeah.
What is this? What is this stuff you're talking about?
Yeah, it's deep.
He keeps talking about Lambos.
Okay.
You know, like Lamborghini.
Yeah.
He's like a lamb. He's like, yeah, you know, you got to be rich if you have a Lambo. I was like, I was not talking. I did not have any conception of that when I was 7.
Right.
So I'm just like, wow.
What year was you born, man?
74.
Okay, so we're okay. We're both Libras.
Oh yeah. I was going to ask you about that because it seems like I asked you that question before, and I thought you were a Libra. What month?
October 2nd, 73.
Yeah. So I'm
you know, man, there's a book.
October 17th. Yep.
Yeah, you're 17. Yeah. There's a book, and it's very interesting, man. If you ever get a chance to run by, it's an Eddie Harris book, and it's a very esoteric book about players and, you know, the whole zodiac signs and everything.
Right.
You should check it out because
I definitely will.
He's spot on the money about Libra. I mean, on everybody. It's like you'll read it and you'll like bug out, man. If you ever get a chance to find that book, bro, it's really hip, dude.
I am definitely going to check that out, man.
Yeah.
Well,
bro.
God bless you, man. And
I got you, man.
Like I said, we got to do this again. I'll have you back. Hopefully, maybe sometime after this whole pandemic crap is over.
Yeah, definitely, man. And you know, man, we'll it'll be different, but we'll be all playing again soon here, bro. So you know, some form of fashion, it'll happen. Right, man. You're doing the live streams on Thursdays too, right? With your band.
That's a second Thursday thing.
Second Thursday thing. Okay.
Second Thursdays. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got one in February coming up.
Okay, cool.
And hopefully, what happens is the venue that we were playing at. There was some stuff.
Talking about Blue?
I was playing at. Yeah, I was playing at Blue Note Jazz Cafe, and then you know, the governor or not the governor, the mayor, they said, hey, you can't be out past a certain time. And so,
yeah, right. He's starting to open back up a little bit, man. So
I noticed that. And so, you know, I'm hoping that by March we'll be back in.
Yeah. So. Well, we'll talk, man. We'll talk out, you know, off of this, man. You know, cause I definitely want to check that soprano out, man, you know, so I'll give you a call sometime this week, man.
Sounds good, man.
Okay, brother. You take care, man. Peace.
All right, bye.
Bye.